Introduction. I'm John with Ocean Technology Systems. You won't see me on this one because of the angle of the camera, although here you can see me here, who cares. I'm going to I've got it mounted so that I can just go through the individual accessories. But I'm the training director for OTS, been with the company for about 20 years now, 20 years in September. So it's been a good ride. So we'll go ahead and get started. Now, the accessories we're going to be talking about are for the Guardian full face mask, for the Spectrum full face mask. I'll be bringing in a Guardian and showing you. I've got it sitting over here next to me. But for the Spectrum full face mask, the different accessories, this, I had to borrow the pin on this. It didn't have a nut on the backside, but I'll be able to swap this around. You can see this is the GoPro accessories. But for the Spectrum full face mask for the Guardian, I'm going to talk also I want to talk about the ABVs. This is a OTS ABV2, so it's a lens that you can put into an Interspiro Divator Mark II. So I'll talk briefly about that as U.S. Navy approved for installation into the Divator Mark II. We're going to talk about some flashlights and different things like that. And then I also want to talk about redundant gas supplies. So I've got a gas switch block that I'll bring in, and I'll try not to break my brother's glass table here. But I got my gas switch block here that I brought with me. So we'll talk about redundant gas supplies as well. And then the accessory rail system. Now, to introduce you guys, for those who don't know, Sam Lipinski with InnoDive. Sam is online here, so he should, when he posts stuff up, you should be able, if you have any questions for the manufacturer, whoops, let me mute something here. If you have any questions for Sam, go ahead and ask him here. Sam will be able to monitor and answer any of your questions. He just checked in here just a little bit ago. So like I say, Sam Lipinski from InnoDive. Now, just to let you know, InnoDive makes the rail systems for our masks. He's got other accessories too. He's making mounts for different dive computers, the Galileo, the Nerd, a Shearwater Nerd, and he also makes this. So this is InnoDive's rail. If anybody's familiar, a lot of you are, you already have these things. So I'll again ask him any questions that you might have, and post them here, and he'll answer them for you. Again, at the end of the day, we're going to do a questions and answer. And Sam will hang around for that, I believe. And if you have any questions specific to his stuff we can talk about it and certainly get into that. So let's talk about it. I'm going to start off first with the accessories for the Guardian, or I'm sorry, for the Stealth mask, or the Spectrum mask, since the Spectrum's what I have in front of me. Now, we have the rail system on the side. This is from Sam as well. So this is a rail system that screws into the existing screws. And you'll notice that we have 5 threaded inserts in the mask. There's 2 on each side, and then there's the 1 threaded insert in the top where I have the GoPro mounted. So you can mount this rail system on either side of the mask. And, you can go right or left with this. The one thing to keep in mind, and I'll talk a little bit about that when we discuss the Guardian especially, is you want to make sure that you mount your cameras where you'll have the minimal amount of bubbles that go up in front of the camera lens. It's one thing about the Spectrum. When it bubbles, you'll get bubbles that come out. Your exhaust bubbles will come up, and sometimes they'll get caught in here, and you'll get a bubble that comes out in the front. But when you're kind of swimming in a face down attitude, which is where you normally swim, the bubbles will angle off to the side, so you shouldn't have too much of an issue with that. But again, the rail system. So the rail system on the side, this is a universal rail. You can mount any flashlight on this. Sam also mentioned that he has mounts for the Paralens cameras, so you can mount the Paralens on here. I've got the Solas. I'll show you the Sola mounts here. I've got a Sola actually mounted on the Guardian here. I just see the Sola question popped up, and then on the top here again, this is the GoPro mount for the Spectrum mask, and it just mounts with one screw. You snap it on. Follow the instructions that come with this. As I'm not going to have time to really get into the individual components or installation of the individual components, so that would be a 2-hour, 3-hour long video, and really, really boring. So I've got it all set up, and again, whenever you buy one of these components, you'll find instructions for these included with each one. So again, this is the GoPro mount. There's another nut that would go into the back here. You need to make sure that you save all your accessories for the GoPros. JR was saying that the new ones have captive nuts here on the parts. If that's the case, you're going to have to find your old ones and use the little nuts on the back of the old ones to mount this, because literally this pops out and the GoPro comes off or goes on, depending on whether you're mounting it or taking it off. Hey, Adrienne. So again, this is the GoPro. This is a Hero 7 that mounts. All the GoPros with the universal GoPro mounts here will mount to this adapter, and then also mount to the Guardian. And I'll show you the Guardian on the rail system here in just a minute. The other thing I wanted to talk about with the Spectrum, so we've got the light mounts, light or camera mounts, depending on what you want to mount on the side over here, the accessory mount. We also have the GoPro mount. Then the other accessory that's probably one of the most popular things, and it's amazing how many people were waiting for this, was is the ABV for the Spectrum mask. Now, one thing about the ABV for the Spectrum is that it mounts a little lower. So you're mounted at the bottom of the airspace. So it's really, really, really important that you close this ABV before you get in the water. But it functions the same. For the most part, it functions the same as the ABV for the Guardian. Now, the Guardian, because it's mounted high on the opposite side, actually, it's mounted high on the air in relationship to the airspace of the mask. When you're upright, it will actually back pressure that valve, and if you leave it open, it's not a big deal. Well, you want to make sure you always close it. But if you maintain an upright position underwater, nothing will come in. With this, if you leave it open, water is going to flood your mask. So you always want to make sure that you close the ABV. Now, the ABV comes packaged. This is the retail packaging for the ABV. It comes with the instructions on how to install it. Take some time. It's not hard to install, but it does take a little bit of fiddling with to get it in and get it in right. Again, the retail packaging comes with the instructions and pretty much everything you need to install the ABV. Now, this ABV does have a check valve on the inside, so you have a one-way flow of air. When you inhale, air comes in through this, and then that check valve does what check valves do. It checks the flow of gas, and then you exhale out through the diaphragm assembly of the exhaust valve of your regulator. So it is, again, so these are the accessories. Again, the rail system on the side, the GoPro mount on the top, and the ABV. Now, the Spectrum, because, it's a sport mask, we try to keep it economical. This is an option. It doesn't come with the mask, where the Guardian, it comes with it. This mask happens to be set up with an ear microphone assembly, dual earphones. Also note that the frame of the Spectrum mask will embed the cable. So if you do use an ear microphone assembly, you can run that across. This is the mirrored lens, also comes in the clear lens. And I'm kind of fond of the clear lens. The mirror lens, I have to admit, is one of the coolest looking masks out there. Problem is, if you're diving with somebody that may not be an advanced diver, you do want to see the diver's eyes. So you might want to consider that when you're deciding on whether you're going to purchase the mirrored lens, or the tinted lens, as we call it, or the clear lens. And they are replaceable. We do have retail packaging coming on the lenses. If you need one right now, we are selling the lenses now, but they're going to come wrapped up with instructions, but no retail packaging. Not that that's a big deal. So, but we will have these. Now, this has kind of been all tricked out. Although I only have one rail, I've seen people with 2 rails and all kinds of stuff mounted on your mask. One thing to keep in mind with accessories, it's always nice to have accessories, but you don't always need your accessories. So meaning that it's nice to have tools in the toolbox, But I would recommend, just from a personal experience thing, I would recommend that you mount only the accessories you need. In other words, if you don't need your light, if you're doing a daylight dive and you're in a bright daylight dive, don't dive with your light, because it's it sticks out here from the side, and it's a bit of a snag hazard. I don't have the other adapter, so I'm not going to be able to mount this GoPro. You'll need the one right angle adapter to mount your GoPro. But the neat thing about this, I'm going to back up a little bit, talk about the rail system, and then I'll talk about that. But the rail system, this is the universal rail system. Let me finish that train of thought. I'm sorry, bouncing around here a little bit. Take only what you need at the time. I'm kind of the minimalist kind of attitude, in that if I don't need it, I don't want to take it with me. Just a quick anecdotal story here. My twin brother and I, we used to dive back in the late 70s, early 80s, and there was one guy that came from Washington, D.C. all the time, and we were diving in quarries, and this guy always had all kinds of stuff hanging off of him. We all wanted to go in behind him because he was the guy that was going to lose something. And we always considered it a successful dive if you came out with more than you went in with, as far as equipment goes. So again, if you don't need it, don't take it with you. But it's good to have when you do need it, to be able to accessorize as necessary. Now, so this one has the universal rail. Now I'm going to pop the rail off. There's a button on the side. And this is very similar to a military. It's not a Picatinny rail, but you can sort of see the design influences of it. That goes on the side. It's clamped on by this wire form here that has a pair of screws on the back, and then there's some lugs that go underneath the frames here. You screw this down, and this locks firmly into place. And then you can mount whatever accessory you happen to have. This one is the combination system, the combination mount, that you mount your Sola. This happens to be a Sola 1200. And you get the 800s, the 1200s, the 2000s. I am not up on all the latest Sola lights. I have 4 2000s myself. This is a 1200. So you can mount this. Now, again, the GoPro goes on top of this, a neat thing about it. GoPro goes on top of this, and then you have your illumination all in one neat little package. The other thing that's really neat about this, and I want to talk about this for just a quick second. Let me get that mounted on here. Now, I'm trying to do this and watch through my phone at the same time. With the camera mounted up here above, you can it's a very simple, and if you get a chance, go to our website and go into videos. And, oh, wait a minute, it's not there. You have to go onto my YouTube channel. No, that's not true. I do have it on there. Go to, I was thinking about lobster videos that we have. Go to our website, go to videos, and go down to body shadowing. Now, body shadowing, all the communications that we have recorded in that video, called body shadowing, is recorded directly to the GoPro camera, in that we take a piece of 1-inch square dual lock. It's a dual lock. It's a 3M product, Scotch 3M product. And it's like Velcro, but it's not Velcro. It's got these little balls that lock together, and the material on both sides is the same, not like hook and loop for Velcro. So they snap together. So you want to put a little patch on this. It has a 3M adhesive. The other patch is going to go on the back of your GoPro camera. Now, I'd be careful with, if you're going to mount it to the Hero 7. Well, you need to have the separate housing if you're going to take it to depth. I'm not sure what the depth rating is of the new Heroes. But anyway, you're going to mount your speaker on your camera somewhere. Again, where it doesn't damage. You want to be careful when you're taking this apart with the new EP3s, and that you can pull this plate off. But anyway, you snap that onto your camera someplace, and it records everything that's said. Anything that comes through your earphone is recorded to your camera. So again, go on our website and take a look at that, the body shadowing. And again, that video, the audio in that video is all recorded directly to a GoPro. I wasn't using my Canon and my Gates housing on that shoot. It was all GoPro, and it's pretty crazy how good the comms are that come across that. Okay, so that's the rail system that you can, again, and there's a universal mount. There's different accessory mounts that you can get for this, and it's just a quick matter of pushing the button and sliding this off, or pushing the button and sliding it on to put your rail system on here. Again, Sam's online here, so if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them to Sam. He can He can answer any of those questions, anything that I can't answer. So that's the rail system. As I mentioned earlier, with the ABV for the Spectrum mask, the Guardian comes with the ABV listed. This is one thing you need to make sure you mount this so that you clear the screw there. I didn't do it with this. My personal one that I have mounted, it clears that screw. There you go. So you can raise this up just a smidgen. It only takes a millimeter or so to clear that. So there, Dennis posted the video link. Dennis, is that the link to the body shadowing? If it is, just go ahead and say that. Okay. What adapter you need for the GoPro? You'll need, well, I'm not sure what your question is. If it's just what you need the right angle where it goes from this to this, and that goes on to that would go on to the combo mount. But this is the combo mount. Go on our website, go into products, go to GoPros, or it'll be in there and under accessories, and so you would need that. If you're going to mount it for the Spectrum mask, the only thing you need for the Spectrum mask is for this. So mount that. You just need your screw, your post, and the nut that goes onto the back. So, Jerry Kincaid, you asked why is the rail so expensive? Well, it's machined, and they're not mass produced in China. Where you have an MOQ of 10,000 of them when you order them. So they are machined, and the machine work on it is, when you look at it and you see it, it's pretty crazy. It's just really well made. So that's one reason why, if they're, when they're machined like that, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, obviously, as opposed to injection molded in China and on family molds where they can spit out 10,000 at a time. That's just the manufacturing process that makes them that way. So, all right. So for more accessories, this is the, hey Mitch, good to see you here. This is the Eyewear Insert, and it's a wire frame that goes inside, and you can mount your prescription lenses in it. Now this one is just a frame. I'm going to pop this out here. The direction, the accessories for the direction changers, the right angles and so forth, you get a whole bag of accessories. And I think they still have the grab bag if you need to. If you lose stuff, you can buy the grab bag. It used to be like $15 for the grab bag of accessories for the GoPros. That was all the little angle stuff that you can fit stuff together and change them and rotate and stuff like that. So this you would take to your ophthalmologist or your optometrist, and they would grind your prescription in. And then this mounts, the Eyewear Insert has a wire frame that goes on the inside, and you see the little rubber block right there. That little rubber block has a pair of holes, and with that is a pair of posts right here that engage those pair of holes. And that rubber block slides up and down, and so you can move your prescription lenses up and down as you need to. And so it's so this allows you to get proper alignment on your of your prescription lenses when you're diving. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're diving prescription lenses with the Eyewear Insert is you now have 3 surfaces that you're dealing with as far as water goes. If you get water in your mask, you're going to have droplets on the inside of your lens, droplets on the outside or the front of your lenses here, and then on the back. So my suggestion is you really try to keep your mask as dry as you can whenever you're diving with the Eyewear Inserts. So these are available. We have these. Go to our website, go under accessories or under products, and you'll be able to see what we have there. You can find all these products there. So again, this is that was the Eyewear Insert. There's the rail on the inside. I've talked about this. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is different lights. We talked about the Sola, the Sola light already. We talked about this. It mounts on there. Now, this, you do need to pay attention to the instructions when you mount this. And you have to buy the D-ring kit for the rail system as well. So always inquire. You might talk to somebody in sales. Always inquire as to what you need to mount the Sola light to the adapter here. And then there's individual adapters as well. Now this is Sam's light. This is a small light. One thing I want to talk about with lights. People kind of go crazy with lumens. whenever you're mounting a light on the side of your mask, you always have to take into consideration backscatter. Like driving through the snow with your high beams on, you have to turn your high beams down, otherwise you get all that backscatter and makes your visibility tough. The clearer the water, obviously, you can use higher lumens or brighter lights. Generally, what I recommend is when you're using a mask-mounted or a helmet-mounted light, depending on your task, now this is going to vary between everybody's, whatever you happen to be doing, but just as a general recommendation, you don't need a super bright light. And this is a nice light for the application. What you're generally doing with a mask or a helmet-mounted light is illuminating your workspace around you. So, this light's no more? You have a new one? Okay. Go to Sam's website for the new light. He has a new light. He was just telling me this one's no longer available. So go to the website. But anyways, it'll still function the same. Similar specs, Sam says. So you need to mount this. There's a dovetail that you need for this to mount it to the rail system as well. But again, you want a light that's bright enough to illuminate what you happen to be working on right in front of you. So if you have too bright of a light, again, you're going to have that backscatter issue, and you just generally don't need to go crazy. Now, if you're diving very clear water, like in the springs, and you're a cave diver where you need brighter illumination, then that certainly is something to take into consideration. But in general, people go crazy putting 1,000 or 2,000 lumen lights on their masks just to find out that they can't really bear to turn them on if there's any backscatter. Okay, now what else did I want to talk about? The one thing I wanted to talk about, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, and then I'm going to get into redundant gas supply, is the ABV on the OTS lens. Now, does this seem like an accessory? Yes, it is an accessory in that this will fit on an Interspiro mask. So this is U.S. Navy approved for installation with the ABV into the Divator Mark II or the U.S. Navy Mark 20 mask. So it is available. So Desiree, I'm going to get back to answering questions at the end here. So I'll get back into it. And we'll talk about adapters. I'll get back into that here. So keep that in mind as an accessory. I've gone through the lights and stuff like that. Now let's talk real quick about redundant gas supplies. Now, anytime that you are that you're diving, and especially if you're diving in overhead environments, or anytime that you need to take into consideration that you're going to need a backup air supply, you're solo diving or whatever the case may be, it's a good idea to wear a pony bottle or a redundant gas supply with a gas switch blocks. Why don't the lens out of glass? The lens is, well, you can't mold glass into the shape that we need for the Spectrum or for the Stealth mask. The Spectrum lenses are glass. But back real quick. I try not to. I'll answer the questions at the end of the day. So what we have here is a gas switch block. Now this is a true gas A, gas B switch block in that it allows you to switch from gas A to gas B. So your gas up here, the top one, which is generally when the teardrop is pointing up, it's you're breathing off your back gas. And the back gas is your main tank. And then your redundant gas supply, that of your pony bottle, is plugged into the quick disconnect. I'm going to try not to slap my camera. And this is where we use another accessory I want to talk about. Is called the quick disconnect, the QD connectors. So with the QD connectors, I don't like these primarily in your primary gas line, but for your redundant gas supply, it's a good way to be able to break your system down or assemble your system. So the nipple here for the connector goes on your gas B. Gas A up here, gas B. Now keep in mind the way this is my gas block, so it's a little beat up and a little tarnished, but that's the way they get. Just shows a little bit of use. That when it's pointed up, this is the line that goes to your mask, this is the line that goes to your primary, this is the line that goes to your redundant. When you run out of gas, you need to switch over to your secondary gas supply, you're going to rotate it around. One click turns your air off. I'm not sure if he's still doing that or not. I like this feature. A lot of people don't. Frankly, if you have a failure downstream or upstream from this, then it's a good idea to be able to turn it off. If you blow an O-ring or something in your regulator, then you're going to be blowing all your gas out. So it's a good idea to be able to turn this off and then go to an octopus on your backup gas supply. So and then when you flip it down, you're on your redundant gas. So hopefully I'm not over explaining this, but that's the way this system works. There's something else I was trying to think about the redundant gas supplies. It will work for side mount, and Jerry, you need to think it out and noodle out your system as to how you're going to work this. So you could use this for tank 1, tank 2, and switch it back and forth. That was the one thing I wanted to talk about. When I just talk about setting up a pony bottle on your system, you need to have a couple of things. I recommend that on your pony bottle you have a secondary octopus or a secondary second stage. Now, what that allows you to do is if you need to go off your system completely, if you have a failure of your full face mask, say, and you need to bail out of your full face mask, and it's not necessarily an out of air situation or whatever the case be. It may be an out of air situation, maybe a failure of your full face mask, but you want to go fully redundant. You need to say you need to bail out of your system completely. So you'll take the second stage off your pony bottle, you'll bail out of your full face mask, you go on that second stage. Now you have 100% redundancy. So you have a complete backup system regardless of whatever your failure might happen to be. The gas switch block is only going to be good if you have have an out-of-air situation on your primary gas supply. Then you switch over and go to your secondary gas supply. And so does that make sense? Now, if you have a second stage on your pony bottle, then your second stage will also function as an OPV, or an overpressure relief valve. Now, this is very important to have an OPV on the system. In other words, if you're not using the second stage on your pony bottle, and hopefully I'll keep this straight in my head, then you need to use an overpressure relief valve. So if you have a failure of your first stage, and you say you have a broken seal or a seal that's been compromised in some way and starts to bleed high pressure gas into your system, then you need to be able to off pressure that gas, and that's what the OPV is. Now there's several of these out here. This happens to be an Apex. XS Scuba makes one. M&J I think M&J is still making it. I think he is. I have to talk to Joe about that. But again, this is to prevent a catastrophic failure of your system in case you have something happens to your first stage that it starts to bleed high pressure gas into your intermediate pressure line. So that's the basic way. This is kind of, we're just touching on this stuff. And I can't cover all the details, but I did give you a little bit of hopefully an idea of some of the accessories that we have from the light systems, the ABV and camera mounts and so forth. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to disengage. I'm going to turn this off for a second. We're going to record. This will be recorded, so it will be up and available. And then I'm going to go to questions and answers in a second video, because I want to break it up and put the questions and answers in a different video. So I'm going to turn off for just a minute, and we'll go to questions and answers. So if you're interested, stick around, or watch our page here, and I'll be back on in just a minute to go over all the questions and answers. So if you give me just a minute here, again, it'll be popping up as a second video. I appreciate everybody's attendance. Watch next week. I'll be honest with you, right off the top of my head, I forgot what I'm talking about next week. We did have it posted, but we'll post what the subject will be for next week here shortly. And hopefully I'll be doing some stuff soon from my poolside up at my farm. I have my pool redone, and we'll be doing some stuff from up there in the future. So thanks again. I appreciate everybody's attendance here. Be safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you here soon.